Welcome in. You're listening to Medical Spa Insider, presented by the American Med Spa Association. We are happy to have you with us. This week, we're talking about partnership over 3 conversations recorded by AmSpa founder Alex Thiersch, live at the Medical Spa Show. First up, Audrey Neff from Aviva Aesthetics. And if you want a partner for your med spa success, check out our membership benefits at americanmedspa.org.
Welcome, everybody, to the American Med Spa Insider Podcast. How are you? We are live from the Medical Spa Show and kind of out in the open, dealing with our, doesn't matter. It's all how it looks. In fact, people will see that as a positive.
Yes.
The lovely and talented Audrey Neff, the heavy hitter from Aviva Aesthetics. How are you?
I'm fabulous. It's great to be here. You know, it's very cool to be here with you, Alex, and because we've known each other for a very long time.
I remember back when you were like a baby marketer with Crystal Clear.
Yeah, I was 22.
Because it was like you and Allie Beck.
Yeah.
Allie Beck were running around together, kind of, and that was a long time ago.
Yes.
And you're now you're you're a rock star of the industry yourself. You've come a long way.
It's been a fun ride, and I want to give a lot of kudos to you too, because I remember the inception of the Medical Spa Show. The very first, I've been to every med spa show since you guys started it, and I remember the very first one, and it's very cool to see how much it has grown and evolved and really built an incredible sense of community for the med spa industry. So I want to give props to you on that.
No, I wish I could take credit for it myself. But it's the people, everyone that comes to it, really. I know. I was just talking to somebody about that. You were at the first one. That one, so that was 2017 at the Aria.
Yes, it was at the Aria for several years.
Yep. And it was still amazing. Even then, I was like, wow, we got 350 people to show up, and which was frankly good, because if we hadn't, we would have gone bankrupt, and that would have been the end of it. Yeah, it was. That was. Look at it. This is crazy. I never in my wildest dreams thought.
I still remember when you talked about you wanted to start a conference. I still remember this conversation with Tim and Adam, and it's very interesting and cool to see how it's completely blown up from an idea to this. It's the event of the U.S. for aesthetics. It really is.
It doesn't make any sense to me sometimes. Honestly, when I'll walk into the exhibit hall just now, and it doesn't even look like anything. But then same with you. Look at where you are is a completely different place too, and you're now honestly one of the luminaries of the industry. I see people, you've got your own podcast that you're out there talking to folks. People come to me and talk about you, and I'm like, who? Audrey? She's 21. And you still kind of seem like that young, and I know that you're not, obviously, but looking back, what's that like? Did you think you'd be here when you were,
No.
Was that always your goal?
No, it was. People ask me about that a lot, to be honest, and I always say it was very accidental, because it was never intentional to do anything that I've done. It was just I really enjoy helping people, and I've been so blessed and grateful to learn from and have so many wonderful mentors along the way. I would certainly not be here today without the amazing people in this industry. But it is interesting to look back and remember I was just a young spring chicken at age 22, and here I am at age 33 now, still in this industry. And I always tell people you'll be dragging my dead body out of this industry, because I'm literally never leaving.
And Aviva Aesthetics, what's your, first of all, I know you are, we've done a couple of podcasts with
you did one with Mr. Tyler.
Yep. Who is
my photographer.
Who is your handler.
Who's not paying attention.
No, not at all.
No, I'm his handler. I have two.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Thought we were being honest. What do you what's the latest? How many are you up to?
We're growing really freaking fast.
Yep.
It's fun. We're at 15 locations now.
15. The last time we talked, it was not that many, so you must be doing that pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's funny too. The Med Spa Show has a very special place in my heart now, because Tyler and I Met at the Med Spa show.
Did you really?
Year.
I did not know that.
The Med Spa show is what brought us together.
No way.
It's our anniversary.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So this is when you met. I did not know that. That's
Started
awesome.
talking, and the rest is history.
I've been impressed with them, how they've been handling it.
Yeah.
The model is different.
Very different.
Did you now? Is it kind of a shift for you though? Like going from
vendor side to practice
yeah,
side.
like
Love it.
it's why?
Huge
Why?
shift. I mean, that's where my heart is it's always been on the practice side. So I like that. And I'm a very, some people are driven by money, some people are driven by X, Y, and Z. I'm very driven by purpose and impact.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing at Aviva. Like I if I can help someone in any way, shape, or form, that's what I really have dedicated my career to. And that's literally what we're doing with Aviva is flipping the script on the traditional private equity platform approach to benefit the people that create the majority of the value, which are the med spa entrepreneurs. And so it's so much fun. We're building something really amazing. We have amazing practices like Utopia Med Spa over there is one of our recent partners. My good friend Tracy.
Love it. Yeah.
We're building something big. We're ruffling the feathers, and we're having fun while doing it.
I mean, I'd love to ruffle feathers.
Yeah.
It's the way to do it. And so, what's the goal? Like, how many do you want to get? Is there like a number that you're trying to reach?
Yeah, great question. Not a number. I would say it's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
So essentially, we're doing the same thing that every other PE roll-up is doing, except our platform's owned by med spa owners, not majority owned by private equity. So we'll go to mid-market private equity and bring on an investor partner in 2029, let's call it. But that multiple expansion of, let's call it a mid-teens multiple, gets paid out to every single med spa owner on their EBITDA at their time.
So in 2029, that's when you kind of go out to market, but it's then like you're capitalizing and kind of cashing out some of the med spa owners now that get cashed out on based upon the
liquidity
EBITDA.
event, and then another second bite at the apple, just like traditional PE, except it's just going to be because if we look at the landscape now, I mean, med spa owners, you can't get a double-digit multiple on your EBITDA. Not anymore. Multiples used to be a lot higher a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Standard across the board, let's call it, if we're going across the U.S. maybe 5 times you can get on your EBITDA. It depends, obviously. A lot of nuances, but you can't get 15 times if you're a single med spa owner.
Right.
So
is that your target? Single
it's not single. It's we typically look at $2 million and up in gross revenue.
Okay.
But I mean, we have practices from 2 to but we have practices that are doing upwards of 10 million in our pipeline. So
that's a good. I mean, that's
an independent med spa.
Yeah, that's a good, solid independent med spa. That's awesome.
So it's fun, and they keep that financial upside instead of private equity. So
that's
it's
cool.
It's an entrepreneur-owned platform.
Yeah. And I know you're doing a lot of speaking. Did you always want to speak?
No,
because you come from back with Crystal Clear, like Tim and those guys were, insane.
I would certainly not be here today without Tim.
Yeah.
I think
me either. To be honest, I mean, if I'm being completely honest,
he taught me more than I think anybody in my entire career. So I'm very blessed and grateful to have learned from him. I never thought I'd be a public speaker.
Is that something you wanted to do?
No, it was something that never even popped into my mind, and it just kind of happened. I was like, okay, this is cool, and it was all just gateway into it was me talking about. I remember still, I was sitting in a lecture. I forget who the consultant was. Someone was talking about how everyone should avoid millennials. And I remember thinking in that talk, I was like, wait, I totally disagree with it. And that was like my entrance into the gateway into public speaking, because nobody was talking about millennials and what a valuable consumer group they are. And now looking back, still to this day, they're the most valuable consumer group right now. And they're a lot older than people think. And that was my little niche, if you will. It's still my niche. I still really like talking about generational aesthetics. But
I remember those days, because we were like, millennials were kind of like a dirty word. But now it's funny, you look back.
Yeah.
Now it's the Gen Zs, and it's like totally different. Yeah. But millennials are not in that same category anymore.
No.
Like it's
fastest
totally
growing consumer
You
group.
seem such a natural public speaker. So were you nervous and scared of it at first?
Yes, I remember back in the day, because I gave my first public speech at 24 years old.
24. Well, that's right.
I was 24. It was 2 years into my into the industry, and I remember back then to think of it now compared to then. So I've been public speaking for 9 years now. It's taken a long time to get to to the place I am now where people ask me, like, how do you not get nervous? How do you do all these things?
Yeah.
It's just the more you do anything, the more comfortable you get. But I remember back in the day, I would rehearse, I would memorize, I would do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now I don't even look at my slide deck. I just get on.
It helps when you know the material.
Yeah.
And you definitely do. Like this morning, I have to say I didn't prepare until this morning.
Yeah.
And that almost made it better because I was like, whatever.
You're speaking from the heart.
It's like you got to do. Yeah, it is how it is.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's so cool. And you guys have been. I really like the approach, and it's one thing that I've seen. Private equity is like private equity, but you need people need a partner that's going to help them grow, and it's going to be invested in them. But then they still have that upside because the biggest fear that I see people possess and that they're so worried about, and I get it, is that you just you don't want to invest and then trust somebody and have a partner come in and then it just kind of crumbles apart for whatever reason. And it's a fear. And I've seen some of this. I've seen it not work, and it's really kind of sad when it doesn't work. But when it does work, it's very empowering and exciting and positive. And so there's a few out there that I think have been doing it really well. Yes, I agree. And I think you guys are part of that. So congratulations on that.
Of course.
Did you ever think you'd be working for private equity?
No. But we're so different than traditional PE because our platform is owned by med spa owners.
I agree. It seems like it is. It seems like it is. Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Our board is majority med spa owners. It's the only platform that's governed, owned, and led by med spa owners.
And you're based in Chicago, aren't you? Kind of?
Yes, technically we are. I do not live there, but yes, June Glass Capital is based in Chicago.
What I mean, that's why you're nice, because people in Chicago are nice. You're still, where are you based again?
Boca Raton, South Florida.
Let it slide.
I'm from Ohio, though. I'm a Clevelander.
Yeah, see, that makes sense. That all comes full circle. Well, are you enjoying yourself?
Yes.
Okay, you coming to the party tonight?
Of course. Wouldn't miss. I'm dragging Tyler to the party. He's never been.
Oh, okay. He didn't go last year?
No.
Tyler? You got to dress up.
Yeah.
There's a requirement. There's got to be a costume of some kind.
He's wearing a Mad Hatter hat.
Yep.
And a velvet suit.
You know what? Dang it, we're gonna match. That's the worst. Well, I'm so glad you jumped on. Great to catch up.
Yeah, always.
Have to have you back. And you're speaking at some point, right? Aren't you?
Tomorrow.
Of course. Audrey Neff, amazing.
All right, Alex Thiersch, great to chat and catch up.
Next time we have to incorporate some drinks into the podcast.
Yes,
it gets
of course.
very, a little more
we could have fun with that one.
Socially lubricated. Do you still keep in touch with Tim and all those guys, by the way?
Oh, yeah, Tim, I'm close with Adam.
Yeah.
Don't talk to.
No, that's been a while. All right.
Yeah, Tim's great.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah, there we go.
Anything else else mention for your fans? Last word?
Done.
All right. Great to see you.
You
Amazing
too.
Job. It's so cool to see what you've become. So
thanks.
Good job.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Summer is coming, and if you're running a med spa, that means consultations are up, the phone is ringing more, and your team is stretched thin. But how many of those calls are actually getting answered? And how many high-value clients are you sending to voicemail or worse, to your competitor? If you don't know the answer, it's costing your med spa thousands in revenue and preventing you from scaling. CallRail fixes that. CallRail's AI voice assistant, Voice Assist, answers and qualifies calls the moment they come in, whether you're with a client or out of the office. So you're not missing your next high-value consultation. While Voice Assist is handling those calls, CallRail automatically captures exactly which marketing channel drove those leads. So when summer winds down, you're not guessing what worked. You'll know, and you can scale it. That's why over 225,000 businesses, including top-performing med spas, trust CallRail. Try it free for 14 days. No credit card required at callrail.com/AmSpa. That's callrail.com/AmSpa.
Next, Alex sits down with John Delaney and Rob Price from Fresh Clinics to talk about their work with practices in Australia and their expansion into the United States.
All right, everybody, welcome to Medical Spa Insider. From across the pond, kind of, that doesn't even count. You're not across the pond. You're like across like the world.
It's larger than a pond.
Yeah. The boys from Fresh Clinics, super excited to have you. John Delaney, I'll make sure I get John Delaney and Rob Price. Fresh Clinics we've had you on before at the MedSpa show, right? Last year, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it's always great to have you guys. Australia is where you started. You did an amazing job building med spas there. You've kind of been through a lot of the things that we've been through as far as regulatory expansion. And now you're here. It sounds like you've been bouncing around the world like crazy. I know, Rob, you're now based here in the States. Great to have you. How are things going? Welcome back to Medical Spa.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
We're thrilled. This is, we're having a little bit of off-camera chat, but we're always really pleased to get to this conference in particular.
Yeah.
We think it really, it's a real standout in the calendar. And
tell me more.
And it's it's exciting. It's worth the trip, right?
Yeah.
Rob's here. Rob's living in Austin.
How's that been going? How do you like Austin?
Yeah, it's fun. I like Texans. Texans and Aussies are quite similar.
Really?
Yeah. Lots of outdoors. There's fit
offended.
people in Austin. You can't walk the lake in Austin without seeing 100 six-packs. So I'm still working on mine. But
I've noticed that. Aren't there fit people in Australia?
There are. Yeah. There's also fit people in Vegas. There's a production called Thunder Down Under. And that's probably the epitome of the Australian physique.
Yeah. Is that right? Is that right? Is that why you're auditioning?
That's actually one.
Yeah, later on. Yeah, that's right.
So just real quick for folks who haven't heard of Fresh Clinics before, you have I wouldn't say it's a fairly unique and new platform, but I thought it was at the beginning, and I think what you guys have really done is innovative. And it's cool, and I love what you're bringing to the United States. Talk about what it is that you guys do, so everyone can get an idea.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Yeah, so I mean, we come from a clinical background. So I'm a medical doctor, as is my business partner John Holbrook, and we designed as doctors, as a bit of a side hustle, a project that supported nurses in their businesses injecting in med spas in Australia. And that just took off. We found that there was such an appetite for really high quality clinical support that was backed up by a lot of good compliance governance. I see you've got the badge. Compliance is cool. I agree.
Yes, I'll get you one if you want.
I'd love one. And then we wrap all that around software that focuses on the middle of house, the treatment room. So we help with the electronic medical record management and the compliance documentation. Bundle that all together with training and a good sense of community, and you're partnering with guys like yourself on helping to build that across the industry. Like, we're big advocates for the industry. We come from industry, we know the industry.
Yep.
And so in a nutshell, we make treating patients safe and easy, and that's our focus.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How's it been received? I know this isn't your first rodeo. You've been in the States for a bit. Texas is kind of where you started. How's it going so far? Like, give me the latest.
Yeah, I mean, so Rob's here.
I'll jump in. We've been in the US now for 3 years, but predominantly the first year was, and probably say 2 years, was really building infrastructure, understanding the compliance landscape, getting our licensure, setting up a team. It's typical when an overseas business comes into a new market, they don't move their team from the core business across fast enough. And so we've started to move a lot of people from the Australian business into the US side as well. But as I said, first couple of years was infrastructure. We're very much now into kind of expansion mode as well. So another 3 in the next 2 months, and then we're hoping to be in 15 by the end of the year as well. And I think at the start, we came in with probably a view of what we think a med spa does in the Australian context. And what's changed, and is increasingly changing in the US, is just how many treatments go through a med spa, and where does the scope of practice change sit within a med spa. It's not just injectables, it's not just skin, it's wellness, women's health, etc. And so we've been expanding the support we provide in those different treatment areas. And as we've been doing that, we've been growing more successfully in the US as well. So we've got just under 200 members now in the US.
That's awesome.
That's really starting to move, and it's started to move in the last 6 months as we've opened up in a few more cities and started to wrap, a big part of what JD mentioned is the clinical focus. We've been going into clinics, supporting them on training, helping them get access to really good clinical support, getting their protocols set up, ensuring that they're compliant. And that messaging, focus on clinical, has really resonated, and we're finding some good success there.
Yeah, and we spend a lot of time with the members in our network, and what's reassuring to me is it just feels like home coming and chatting to med spa owners, med spa, clinicians and injectors in the US. It's all the same around the world, right? It's the same problems, and it's the same focus on treatment outcomes, making sure that patients are really well supported, right? And you've got to do that in a way that's compliant. You've got to do that in a way that the patients are safe, and you've got to do that in a way that helps you grow a sustainable business. Sustainability is really important, right? You can't be a flash in the pan. You want to build a business that you can support your family with over time. And that's where we like to participate and partner with people who feel that way.
Yeah, I agree. A sustainable, profitable business tends to be safer, more compliant.
Yeah.
100% of the time, because you're not.
Yeah, and it's easy to chase those trends.
Yeah.
It's easy to see the shiny new thing and go after it. For us, the people that really consider carefully what their patient base is looking for, and then work to integrate that with those patients are the ones who achieve the most sustained success.
Yeah. Is it you mentioned kind of coming over here from Australia and the differences with the amount of treatments that come through a med spa versus, what's the difference like in Australia? Is that not the case? Is it mostly?
It's blending a little bit. So when we first came over, this is still true that in Australia, a med spa would be more commonly known as a cosmetic clinic.
Okay.
And med spas over here, right? And I thought the name was just nomenclature.
Yeah.
But actually, the med spa does reflect the perimedicine, the broader perimedicine that is run through a med spa in the US. And in Australia, mostly it's toxin filler and the occasional additional treatment, a fat dissolving treatment, energy-based devices, that sort of stuff. Whereas in the US, much more around broader wellness treatments, IV infusions. Obviously peptides are a big deal, and emerging GLP-1s, and we all know the surge that's had, and some of the counteracting forces that are in place now. That's all different. But what we find is that, again, going back to my earlier point, that the med spa owners, the clinicians here, have the same outlook, have the same focus. They want really good outcomes for their patients. And so that tends to be, although the menu might be large, the actual range of treatments that get delivered is usually reasonably narrow in any one med spa. And so that's been probably the biggest difference, is that just that scope of treatment.
Yeah.
The other big difference to highlight is just the regulatory mix that you guys have to deal with over here, where we are one single governing body for all clinicians nationally across Australia, so that's easy to deal with.
Yeah.
There's state-by-state regulations for the governance of poisons and medicines. The complexity of the regulatory landscape over here is huge. I mean, I don't have to tell you that, Alex, right?
It'd be great to have just one standard. Amazing. It's weird.
Yeah. So then we over, in the States, any state that we go into, ensure that we do the due diligence to make sure that we've got our compliance infrastructure set up correctly, and wrap that into the software that we provide. So it's compliance first in the software environment, meaning we're generating the right paperwork for you, your workflows are compliant, and all of that is a process of continual learning, right? Because you'll discover along the way, some particular piece of legislation jumps out of the blue, and you've got to deal with that. So that's a big part of our kind of process as well.
It's exciting stuff. We're seeing so much expansion and blending of, quote unquote wellness, which who knows what that really means. It could be anything, right? Longevity. Which all have different meanings depending on who you ask, but it's all kind of coming together, and med spas are embracing kind of all of it. And it really is, when you think about it, it's all about making you feel better through the way you look, the way you feel, the way you act, and all of that. And people don't want, they want to go to one place and have a one-stop shop. What's the challenge, Rob, for when you're bringing people on? Like, has there been any difficulty? Now, I was talking to somebody earlier about this. Is there difficulty explaining kind of what the model is? I mean, do they know, like, because are you still focused mostly on nurses
Predominantly.
Okay.
But we pick up a cross-section of, we work with some large groups that we provide their compliance infrastructure and good faith exams as well. We also pick up, wellness or longevity only clinics as well, the ones that focus on hormone replacement, peptides as well. And Austin's a bit of a melting pot and a bit of a kind of a front runner in the longevity race. You've got some of the most kind of the biggest influencers in longevity. A lot of them are based in Austin.
Yeah.
And so we play across that spectrum. We've had to make our model more flexible to support that, because a lot of what we do is create a compliance infrastructure and then work with medical directors, but we have to find a variety of medical directors that are willing to supervise those different types of treatments. And your classic plastics or derms physician will be comfortable with a more narrow set than a functional wellness medical director who's had more experience in that area as well. But I think, to your point, the demand is insatiable. And a big contrast I've found coming into the US is, you can't talk to a personal trainer at the gym without being offered peptides.
I know.
Or, walking into a normal bar and having a conversation and somebody talking about their peptide stack. And so, the information, there's so much content out there. There's so much accessibility, but to your point, like, where's the trust? And I actually think the med spas have a really important role to play around that trust. They're clinicians. They've got experience in these medical areas. They've got governance and frameworks that they've trying to manage around compliance as well. They're trying to source from reputable suppliers as well. And so I think you'll have this natural direct-to-consumer channel that will exist, and there's lots of telehealth businesses supporting that. But I think the med spas have a really important role to play where people want higher levels of care, where they want a trust-based relationship with the clinician, and where they want more control around where products are sourced as well.
Yeah, we see in the mix of consumer demand medicines, med spas have a huge role to play. Illness medicine's not going anywhere. You still need emergency departments and cancer treatment and surgery and all that sort of stuff, right? But the democratization of information has led to people wanting to, asking for particular types of medicines. That's never happened before.
It's bonkers. Like, the people are coming in telling you what to do.
I want this peptide and this, and I've listened to podcasts from world experts on it, and I've read amazing articles on it, and I know a lot about it, and I want that. And so that service delivery, it still has to be governed by a certain clinical infrastructure, and people still need to be looked after by clinicians to make sure that they're well and they're safe. And that's a core part of our philosophy, again, around treating patients easy and safe, is when that needs to be delivered, it probably shouldn't be delivered in an exclusive home delivery environment where the patient's never seen by a person. In our view, there's a hybrid model where the med spas are in a really unique position. They've got a really beautiful space that's been curated. There's a lovely human in there who's really, really well credentialed and able to help. And in many cases, that's the healthcare relationship that is the most enduring for a lot of people, right? Their injector is the person they see the most, the healthcare professional they see the most.
And there's trust, and there's
trust, and there's a long-term relationship there that I think has a lot to offer to society.
Have you found yourself as a physician, like, diving into the whole peptide world and all that? I mean, because you can get lost.
So I must admit, I'm still very much in my early learning phase around it.
Okay, me too. I know people talk to me about stuff, and I'm like, what the hell?
But we have clinicians on staff, and a shout out to Dr. Izzy, who's one of our physicians based in Australia. She's very familiar with all of the trends and was at a recent global conference in Europe on these matters. So I'm learning all the time from her. And it's very easy as a doctor, as a traditionally trained doctor, to have a knee-jerk reaction to that and say, well, where's the evidence, and so on. And I think those questions are relevant and important, but you've also got to keep an open mind and consider this new healthcare delivery model that, it's got to be governed, it's got to be safe. We want to make sure that if clinicians aren't in the room helping to guide the decision making, people are just going to get it elsewhere, and I think that's a loss to society.
Is it easier in Australia is the regulation process for getting these medications, or whatever you want to call them, the peptides, is it easier to get them across the finish line and use them?
General rule of thumb, regulations are always tighter in Australia.
Really?
It's a more
even in the United States?
It's a more conservative environment. Yeah.
Okay, interesting, because the U.S., I was just talking to someone and they have a lot of trouble. Like they're like, we want less regulations so we can get more access.
Yeah.
So we usually see in aesthetics, we'll see the latest products from the big pharmaceutical companies first. So our FDA equivalent, we can get products through typically faster on those aesthetic-based medications, new toxins, new fillers, new biostimulators. But on the peptide side, I'd say it is a more conservative stance in Australia.
Yeah.
I think that comes as well from the physicians who ultimately sign off and take responsibility for these medicines. There is less risk appetite. People are less willing to sign off on things that, and perhaps there's more enforcement. Perhaps people lose their licenses more easily. We're yet to fully explore all of that.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling peptides are going to be that's the word of the conference.
Peptides.
AI and peptides, you're right. Well, listen, I appreciate it. We're going to have more time, but we'll have to bring you guys back on because I'd love to hear more. How long are you stateside for?
I head home Saturday evening.
You're not going to know what direction.
Yeah. It's been a wild ride, but yeah, absolutely, Alex. Thanks for having us on. Happy to have a further conversation anytime.
Yeah, love it.
Thanks,
love it.
Alex.
Our third conversation this week welcomes Julie Davis from Pura Vida to talk about what she's learned about scaling med spas the right way.
All right, welcome everybody. Medical Spa Show live podcast. Julie Davis, Pura Vida. That's the med spa, right?
It is.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And we are very, very grateful to have you here, especially on a day when you've been running around. You were part of the M&A summit that was going on, which I think is apropos for what we're going to talk about, among other things. And private equity and roll-ups, all of these things are, I don't want to say they're ubiquitous in our industry, but they are common, and they're kind of, what's interesting, I was just talking to someone about this, we're kind of seeing maybe the initial results of the first round of that. And you've had experience with this, and since then, dipping your toe into a new consulting group that I think is helping folks with this. But you had a really interesting take on kind of what happens when the private equity group comes in and buys, and how that scales the problems necessarily without necessarily fixing them. I would love to talk about that. But first, before we get into that, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. How have you been? What's new? What's up?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. This is really fun. And yeah, I think it is really great to have these conversations after we did the M&A summit. It is perfect timing. But yeah, for me, I'm now a year and almost a half post-close. Yeah. I partnered with Well Labs in December of 2024. So very excited about that. So now we're kind of in the throes of the transition, which is going really well. Overall, I think that, some hiccups are to be expected just when you have to go through a lot of change.
And that's not that long ago when you think about it in the whole scheme of things. Yeah,
no, it really isn't. Yeah, it really isn't. And everything moves so fast in aesthetics. So a year and a half has flown by so fast.
But tell me, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
How's your life changed, if at all?
I get asked that all the time. And the truth is, I don't know that everyone would answer this the same, but for me, I don't feel like it's changed a ton. I think part of it is partnering with somebody that doesn't come in and just sweepingly change everything that you're doing, but rather understands that they purchased a high-performing team and a high-performing business, and so a little bit of a hands-off approach. So in a way, a lot hasn't changed for me. I'm still there operating the business for a while longer. And so still a lot of strategizing and all of that. Some of the administrative stuff gets to go away, which is nice.
Yes.
But a lot of the things remain the same. Yeah.
Now, was that, is that surprising to you?
It's surprising and refreshing in some ways, but also a little bit frustrating in some ways, And
let's unpack that up.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So I think the frustrating part, and I know that I've talked with other people who have gone through the same process or are going through the same process like I am. And one of the things that I think we didn't really fully think about or fully realize is, in our minds, we thought we're partnering, we're going to have a lot of things taken off our plates, like payroll and some of those administrative things. And those do, go away, so to speak. But what I didn't really realize is there's so many operational inefficiencies that we're still dealing with. And so fragmented systems, multiple, a fragmented tech stack, and different marketing agencies being plugged into each of these individual PE-owned med spas, So what I've realized, having gone through this, is, wow, this is interesting because operations don't necessarily get better right away. So we've kind of just scaled the problems instead of fixing the problems. Yeah. And so now we just have the same problems at scale.
Yeah. And what's been I think that's a really good point, because it takes time to fix those things. And I've talked to private equity and platform owners. It's difficult to fix those problems too. Because when you have very successful, large, growing, scaling practices that have their own individual components, how do you decide what you're going to standardize, right? And I'm not sure what their plans are, but are they going to take your stuff away, or are they going to take somebody else's stuff away? How does that work?
I can only imagine the thought process that's going on in the CEO's brain, right, of these platforms, because you have to realize that most of these deals are structured where there's an earn-out period.
Right.
And that earn-out is directly tied to revenue. So using my own self as an example, it's very concerning if I'm performing really well and I have the growth, and that someone's going to come in and change it all, right? Because what if you make a change that affects that earn-out potential? Now we have, a misalignment, potential, tension starts to build. So I think there's a lot of concerns on both sides. I feel like, and I'm not speaking for my CEO because I can't do that, but I suspect that they have the same issues on the PE side. Like, if we make too many changes, we're going to get pushed back. And then we're feeling like, what if we make too many changes and revenue declines? And so I think there's a lot of tension that starts to naturally build around that conversation. But at the same time, the platforms need to get ready for recap. They need, we're all theoretically on the same goal, which is to get to that next step.
Yep.
And so the med spas, myself, we need to be prepared to support that process and realize that we're all in this together. And really, it's all of us coming together collaboratively to get to that next step. And so, but the question is, how do we do that?
Yes, I can. How many med spas are in the group so far? The platform?
So I think we're at 34 or 35.
Right.
Yeah.
And from what I recall from Well Labs, it is they're kind of buying individual brands, right? They're not necessarily trying to roll up and start new ones. They've got individual brands. Is that right?
I have not seen any de novo.
Right.
Yep. And I don't think that that's on the horizon. But again, I don't want to misspeak for them. So not to my knowledge.
Okay.
But there is a rebrand taking place.
Gotcha.
So there is a lot of movement towards consistency and all of that. But I think across all PE platforms that I'm familiar with, there's still that difficult, how do we plug in new systems that really create this efficiency and get people operationally doing very well? How do we take what maybe my med spa does really well in terms of converting clients from bookings to sales? We crush it. And how do we implement that across the platform? And
then what are some of the weaknesses maybe that you think you can address? How are those, how do you learn from some of the other ones? And that's, you're right. That's why they get paid the big bucks, right?
Yeah. Well, and so, this is an interesting conversation around how do we teach, right? How do we make sure that we're teaching each of these 34 or 80 or whatever the platform has, right? All of these locations. How do we get them all talking the same language? How do we get the front desk understanding the importance of what they do and doing it extremely well? Because it's my belief that's the first part of the consultation process. It really should be happening at that first initial contact, whether that's by phone or by a text message, whatever that contact is. It should be a dialogue that is crazy engaging, that moves the patient, not just to booking, but understanding that when they come in, they're going to get a treatment plan, they're going to get a full collaborative approach, so that they understand that they might have just called in to book a $200 Botox appointment, but they know when they come in that they're going to be brought out to the checkout room after they've seen that provider during their consultation, and they're probably going to be presented with a 5,000 plus treatment plan because we're going to talk about all the things that really they care about instead of just booking the Botox appointment. And so there's a way, there's a way that I believe that we need to change this, and that is to provide the tools, right? And so I think we can build that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to get somewhere here, I guess. I don't know. But I think that I want to create that solution. Yeah.
One thing I've always wondered is, and I think this is not an answer that there's no right or wrong answer, right? But like when you get acquired, one of the things that I've heard, because I've never been acquired, is you have to kind of come to terms with the fact that you have you've sold your business, right? And your business now belongs to somebody else for all intents and purposes, and you no longer have kind of control over it. And some people are able to let go of that and become part of the greater whole and advance it, and they're excited and it all happens. Other people have a much more difficult time. Overall, what's your experience been like? I mean, are you positive? It seems like you're pretty happy with the decision and you're excited for the future. There's more to come. Overall, what's the verdict so far?
Yeah, I'm very happy with my decision.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very happy. And I think there's two things that come into play on how that's going to go. It's one, the individual seller, how is it going to go? Because that's very much personality driven. But so I'm one of those people that most would say, like, I can't see her being an employee again. And I'm not going to say it doesn't come with challenges. But at the same time, I have partnered with somebody that appreciates my knowledge and appreciates what I have to give. And so there's a willingness and an openness to listen to good ideas,
Which is crucial.
Which is so important, because then I don't have that feeling of I'm an unimportant employee to this platform, but rather I'm a valuable member of the platform and of the whole. And I think if the platform produces that type of culture, it's going to be much better. Now, some owners might say, hey, you know what? I'm good just being in this provider room and rendering services and crushing it in that way. For me, I'm very strategic and I'm very early adopter on things, and I'm always looking for ways to improve, and I'm very driven on operations. Being able to say, hey, we have some ideas, let's talk about them.
That's awesome. So you're invested in building kind of the greater whole, which I think is the way, like from what I've heard, people who, when they enter into this transaction, if they are very invested in helping build the greater whole, as opposed to just being like, I'm done, I'm checked out, like that becomes a recipe for kind of bitterness. Whereas if you're ready to help push the whole thing along, that really is important.
Well, I mean, and if you think about it this way, most of these do have not just an earn-out, but an equity position.
Right.
And so I think it's a mindset shift that people need to try to embrace, which is, I am an owner. I'm still an owner in that business that I sold. I'm just a much smaller owner, right? I don't have the same amount of shares as I did before, but I'm still an important part of this equation. And trying to be useful to the whole really helps you still feel like an owner, and it gives you that sort of sense so that you don't feel like I just sold my baby and I'm unimportant to everybody. Yeah. So
real quickly, the consulting company, tell me about that. What's the goal there, and what's it called and all that?
Yep. So it's more of a tech stack that we're working on than a consulting company. I've done consultant work before, but this is really a different shift. Yep, that's okay. Different shift. Yeah, one of the things that we really want to do is create courses that are going to be digitally delivered that will do all the things that will help med spas to correct the operations where they have the deficiencies. So making that front desk, like I said, absolutely trained up to be highly proficient. It's known to be a bit of a turnover space. If anybody's having turnover, it's often there. And most of the time we're dealing with people who aren't particularly well trained. And it really takes a lot of intensive time to coach somebody up and then monitor and accountability. And we're able to build a tech stack that we can take that responsibility and put it upon us and be able to train, teach, hold accountability, give dashboards, and really be able to get every person on the team firing towards that common goal of that example I gave you. Let's get that patient in, not just for the Botox appointment, but send them out the door with a closed sale on $5,000-$10,000. And we can repeat that all day long. We just need to have a way to get that training easily in front of the platforms and even med spas. It doesn't have to just be a platform.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, next thing you know, you're going to be challenging the Klingons for universal domination.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You look very happy, and which is amazing. So it seems like you made the right choice. It seems like you're kind of cooking on all cylinders, which is cooking. I mixed my metaphors. That's okay.
It's all right.
So congratulations, and I wish nothing but the best. And that's amazing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you to our producer, Madeline Moeller, Marketing Content Coordinator, who organizes the podcast schedule and guests and provides topics and talking points. Audio and video editing, voiceover, graphics, and platform management is provided by myself, Derek Hawk, Digital Marketing Supervisor. Our theme is provided by Maka Music. Thank you for watching or listening to the Medical Spa Insider podcast. Please follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future episodes. Ratings and reviews are greatly appreciated. For more information about the American Med Spa Association, visit americanmedspa.org. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by AmSpa. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance in the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. AmSpa provides this podcast as a corporate service for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues. And as always, thank you for listening to the Medical Spa Insider. Remember, compliance is cool.